Let's move on to a different division. Let's assess the quarterback situation of the NFC South. Interesting division.
Interesting division indeed. So let's start with the easiest one, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What do you think?
What are the chances that Tom Brady moves out?
Yeah.
Zero.
We're back to
Cold-blooded zero.
Cold-blooded zero. Okay, we don't need to talk about Tampa anymore. What's the next team on the list?
Okay, next team on the list, New Orleans Saints.
Ooh, interesting. Sean Payton says that the next quarterback is on this roster right now. Now, here's something that's kind of sneaky. A lot of people are saying Jameis Winston might be the guy. Now, I don't think Winston's the guy, and here's the reason why. Jameis Winston is not signed there. Jameis Winston could find himself as the starter for somebody this year somewhere. I mean, he's a number 1 overall pick before. Obviously had interception problems, but the guy's got talent. He's definitely got arm talent. So Jameis Winston might be that sneaky. You talked before about somebody like the Colts being sneaky and the Patriots being sneaky. That might be the sneaky guy who ends up being a starting quarterback for one of those two franchises, especially Indianapolis. He could do worse than go to Indianapolis, a team that's got a great defense, a team that's got the opportunity to actually run the ball because they have an offensive line and a stable of running backs. He could do a lot worse than to go there. So, look, if I'm looking at New Orleans, I think New Orleans stays pat with who they have, and I believe the only quarterback they have I believe the only quarterback they have under contract is actually their backup tight end last year. But what do you think? Is New Orleans going to make a move, or are they going to stay with the next Steve Young?
Okay, so first things first, Drew Brees during his quote-unquote last game, probably, he mentioned to Jameis Winston that this is your team now. And I guess what's taking it so long for him to get signed is, there is this quick bit of video wherein he was saying to Jameis in like a teary-eyed fashion, "It's your team now," something like that. So I guess the reason why the Winston's contract is not yet signed is because the Saints have a lot to process when it comes to slashing their salary cap, because they have the worst salary cap adjustment to be made. They are $69 million over the cap. So that's a lot of decisions to be made before.
They're a mess. And Lance, real quick, I believe they signed Taysom Hill last year for $10 million a year or something.
Yeah, they did.
So Hill's a huge, he was supposed to be the quarterback. That's why they signed him that big contract.
Yeah. So you have Hill signed, but I guess they also signed Winston and then put them in a competition to find your quarterback. The good thing about New Orleans, I believe that they would take a slide next season, but not much of a slide because they still have a good roster around whoever the quarterback is. If it's Taysom Hill, then you have a spread option or like a run-pass option kind of system that you can unleash Alvin Kamara for all you want to. And if they have a Jameis Winston, then they can use his rocket arm to go to the likes of their wide receivers. So they would take a hit. They would not win the same number of games that they did this season, but I guess that they will still be a fringe playoff team in 2021.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If I think about the Saints, I think about their cap situation. I think about Drew Brees is going to leave. I think about signing Taysom Hill. That was supposed to be your next guy up. I don't think you can afford to bring back Winston unless Winston comes back on a cheap contract. If Winston comes back cheap like he played last year, I think that there's some opportunity there. But I got to be honest, I see Winston moving on to greener pastures. There are teams out there that are going to need a quarterback. Chicago, Indianapolis. There are teams that just don't have anybody, and need somebody badly. And I think Winston might fill the gap for somebody out there. I had this feeling that someone's going to give that guy one more chance. I just don't know why. I mean, I know why. Pedigree. If you're drafted, you put Jameis Winston on a free agent market, you put Gardner Minshew on a free agent market, and you compare them side by side, and you're like, well, these guys have pretty similar stats. Jameis Winston gets a job every damn time because pedigree. He was a first-round draft choice, number 1 overall, highly touted prospect. Gardner Minshew was an accident. So when you look at it that way, I think he's got a better chance of actually getting a job. So let's move on to a different team.
Okay, so next team on the NFC South, Carolina Panthers.
Oof. Well, the story everywhere is that they're not happy with Teddy Bridgewater. But they just signed Teddy Bridgewater to, I believe, was 3 year, $60 million deal. I don't know how much that's guaranteed. I don't know what the cap hit is when he leaves. But Teddy Bridgewater was okay last year. First year in the system. First year really starting in, I think, 5 years. So, Bridgewater to me deserves a few years to actually develop. I look at some of these teams and I think to myself, if you think about your job and any job you have out there, if you do it 16 times, are you an expert at it? Probably not. But you only get to play 16 games every year in the NFL. I mean, that's how fickle the league is. So if you haven't figured it out after doing it 5 times, they think you're a bust. So it's just, there's no room for anybody to have a year or two and get better and grow with the team and become that guy. People want it like right now. I paid you the money. Do it right now. Be the best in the world. Be a top 5 quarterback. If you watch Carolina last year, I thought Bridgewater played pretty well sometimes. What do you think Carolina's going to do, though, with the whole Teddy Bridgewater situation? Do they jump in the draft again? Do they create a competition between Bridgewater and a first-round guy? Like, what's the story here?
So they signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year, $63 million contract, $33 million of which is guaranteed, plus a $15 million signing bonus. So with that big of an investment, I believe that the Panthers should give Teddy Bridgewater another chance. I mean, why the hell did you sign a quarterback for if you won't give him a second chance? And just like what you've mentioned, he did pretty well with what he had. And what he had was not too much.
Not too much.
So he doesn't have anyone around him that can really stretch the field or even give him more big plays.
Well,
so,
look, I compare his situation to exactly what happened in New York. You don't have Christian McCaffrey, who was 64% of your offense the year before. Indeed. So you have an offense that really runs around this one guy, and you lose that one guy that's this multidimensional superstar guy, and I think that you're not going to have a great offense because of that. And by the way, I want to say one more thing, Lance. I don't know if you noticed, but I can never remember anybody's name. I'm terrible at names, but I can always tell you what their contract is. I'm always pretty darn close to their contract. It's really weird that I can remember what they get paid, but I can never remember their names. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you're a numbers guy, I guess so. You're the sports trader. That's why you remember numbers very well.
Yeah. I just wanted to point it out. Every time I talk about somebody's contract, I'm like, oh, I got that one right. Oh, I got that one right. I know what everybody gets paid per year. I have no idea why, but I just, it's one of those weird things that stick in my head. So what do you think? Bridgewater stays, Bridgewater goes? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, Bridgewater stays, but I guess with the number 6 pick in the 2021 NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers will draft a young quarterback if there is someone available, just to be able to create a competition and to have an insurance policy as well, because they don't have that good backup quarterback for Bridgewater. Because if time comes that Bridgewater doesn't perform to expectations, then they have somebody who can come out of the bullpen and throw immediately.
Well, look, if you look at it from a team standpoint, if you're a team that has patience and you could draft a young guy next year, you let Teddy Bridgewater start. Bridgewater, you're praying he has a great year, because what that does is it gives you a chip to play with. So the year after you want your rookie quarterback to play. He didn't play at all the year before. Bridgewater was great. And guess what? You've still got Teddy Bridgewater's rights for one more year, which means that you can trade him. So now you can trade Teddy Bridgewater and maybe get back some draft capital, a swap for another player. I think that's a great move for Carolina. Now that you talked it out with me, I like it. Who else is in that division?
Okay, last team in the division, the Atlanta Falcons.
Unfortunately, right now, I think the Atlanta Falcons are screwed. They're in a bad situation with Matt Ryan. You can't move him. Nobody wants him. Not because he's a bad quarterback, but because he's closer to 40 than he is to 30. He's well past his prime, and he's got an enormous contract, and which I'm not even sure Atlanta can even absorb this year, but they have to figure it out. So I don't think Atlanta brings in somebody else to take over for Ryan. I think they may bring in somebody else to kind of be that guy next, but I don't think Matt Ryan goes anywhere. You think somebody's gonna want him? You think he's got a place to go?
Well, apparently, the owner himself, Arthur Blank, put up Matt Ryan and even Julio Jones declared them as tradable. But as we all know, up until now, no suitors whatsoever. So the thing about Matt Ryan's contract, it's a 5-year, $150 million contract. So he still
115,
has
right?
150.
150. Yeah, that's what I thought.
150. So that's a lot of dollars, and he still has 3 years left in his contract, including the 2021 season. So whoever trades for him, he is an aging asset. He is steady, but he's not as exceptional as well. Not like a Patrick Mahomes or even the better quarterback. So his best days are behind him. So nobody would like to get that investment to tie themselves of that crippling salary.
So really quick,
Atlanta will stay.
No, I was going to say I think that people are learning something now. This quarterback market is putting everybody in this bad situation. Like you just described a terrible situation in Atlanta. But I think Atlanta felt like they had no choice but to keep their franchise quarterback and to pay him $30 million a year over the next 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's in these bad spots.
Yeah, it is a bad spot. And I guess they were put in a situation wherein, do we pay the guy for what he has done or what will he be able to do?
Yeah.
So I guess that's where the dilemma came in. And that's why they signed Matt Ryan for more than what he deserves right now. So for the Atlanta Falcons at number 4, given that Matt Ryan has not much years left, perhaps he only has 3 years left in his NFL career, they should start looking or starting the process of finding his replacement, most likely by the draft, because at number 4, they would still get a viable young talent.
Yeah, look, I think you have to decide at some point when will we have this opportunity again? When you're a franchise drafting in the top 5, when will we have this opportunity again? Well, hopefully not soon. If you're a franchise thinking, oh, we'll be here every year, no need to worry about it, you probably shouldn't be the guy in charge. So yeah, look, I could see that being a thing where they pick the guy this year. Let him sit for a year behind Matt Ryan, who's a good leader, who's a really smart player, who's not a terrible quarterback right now. Let him sit for a year. Let him learn a little bit from Matt Ryan. Maybe you pick the guy. But either way, you give the guy a year to learn under Matt Ryan. I like that.